Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Shanasia Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. Whoa, and just like that, you have landed at the Her Voice Shines podcast. I am your fabulous host, Shanasia Washington, actually streaming from the chilly Houston, Texas. So y'all already know I'm a straight Texas girl. So this little wind in the air, I'm really not vibing with it, but hey, I guess I got to deal with it. I am so happy to be here today. Like, I know y'all see these podcasts drop all the time, but I don't live in here. I just love it here. But I'm back in the recording studio, and I have an amazing guest to kick this off today. I've been looking through all her business. She don't know it, but she don't know when I start asking her these questions. She's absolutely amazing. She has a very, very great survival story. And I really think it's one that needs to be heard on the masses because it really is a story of resilience that I really think is personified. So I'm going to stop yapping and do our normal drill, which is have our guests come to the stage, tell us their name, where they're streaming from, and what are we here for to get the magic of that story. Without any further waiting time, here's my very beautiful guest for today.
Hi there. I am so happy to be here. I'm actually coming in. My name's Amanda Furgiuele, and I'm actually coming in from Austin, Texas. It's too bad I'm not down there in Houston because next week I will be. And I'm also freezing up here in this cold. It's probably cold to no one else except Texans, but cold weather. And, you talk about resilience. I think that entrepreneurship is all about resilience. I have been an entrepreneur for over 25 years, and it's not an easy ride. I mean, they talk about entrepreneurship as being a lot of really high highs, and it is, but along with those high highs, you have these extremely low lows, and it takes more than people realize to rise above that. And I think that's one of the things that differentiates an entrepreneur from someone who works a regular job. I mean, I have nothing against people who work a 9 to 5 because honestly, I employ people, so I want people to work, but it takes a different person to be an entrepreneur because you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from. You don't have a guaranteed Friday payday. You have to hustle. And I think of hustling as, it's become such a dirty word these days that hustling is a bad thing. But from my perspective, hustling is just having your passion, going for it, knowing what you want in life and not taking no for an answer and not letting somebody else hold you down and being authentically who you have to be in order to get there. So my entrepreneurial journey started when I was in college. I started, I have 4 degrees and I paid for them with grit. I created businesses. I worked 4 jobs through college. I was able to pay all of that off. And honestly, I don't think I could have done it any other way. I know that I originally started in the corporate sphere. I used to be a television producer, and I thought that was what I was going to do. I thought I was going to be in the television world behind the scenes. And I quickly realized, as many entrepreneurs do, that I didn't like being told what to do. And I wanted to do my own thing the way I wanted to do it. So I did. I officially took those side hustles I had in college, and then I made an entirely new business. I had brick and mortar businesses. I had online businesses.
So listen, Amanda, as you were speaking, I was back here having what I like to call a come to Jesus, because every day I'm gonna quit this. I'm tired. Like I always say that, but I'm really not gonna quit, Amanda. I can't see myself really quitting like that. But there are moments, especially in the social media world where everything is so instant. They show all these highs of entrepreneurship. And I'm like, well, what life are they living? Because the life that I live looks nothing like that on a day-to-day basis. Yes, there are some great moments. Yes, there are some things that I'm proud of. Yes, there's been some awards. Yes, there's been a platform built. But oh my gosh, what happens when this thing goes off? I got my head down. I am, like Amanda said, hustling. She said there was like a negative connotation somewhat to hustling now, but I'm still in hustle culture in my head because I know that if I don't get up and move, I won't have a paycheck. I can't feed my son. I can't do all those things. And I'm so happy to hear Amanda says that she has a homeschool son, because guess what, Amanda? Me too. He's on the other side of that wall right now. You hear me? He's on the other side of the wall. And the other, and sometimes I struggle. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just like too much. And am I going to one day have to put him in school? And I'm thinking like all these different things. And then there's like these pressures. And then I have a moment, Amanda, that just makes me so thankful to even have the opportunity to provide that piece of education for him. And this is a real thing that tugs on my heart so much. I'm like, sometimes you get the pressure. And I have grandparents that are still living. They're 77 and 81. You're doing too much. And, maybe you should do this. And they try to give me pointers really for, maybe streamline my life. And I was like, well, the calling that's on my life is great. And I will always stand in that, Amanda. I will always stand in. I will always believe that. So the path in which I take may not look conventional to you, but this is what fuels my soul. And I know that may not be everyone's journey or everyone's leaning, and I'm okay with that. I have to stand bold enough to say, this is the path that I have chosen. And I have to be committed enough to that, so that even when the people that I love, that I really, really trust, don't understand it, I still have to give myself that yes. And that is what I'm on the verge of doing. So when she was like, oh my gosh, she said hustle. And then she said, son, homeschool. I was like, oh my gosh, my person is here, because I've always sent the people I need on the days where I am heavy, because I spent the weekend. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm starting the week. There's just so many things. I got to get some recordings done. I got to respond back to these people from, this consulting gig I was going after. And then we had all these graduations. So I'm just like, this is just really too much. And I had this small moment. I was like, well, maybe I should just go back to work. And it's real life, Amanda. I'm telling you my real life story. I'm like, man, I should just probably go back to work. You should do it. I mean, you are a good worker in corporate, right? You manage teams. I mean, you could just go back, and at least you will know on probably the 15th and the 30th, you'll get a paycheck, and you'll know the amount. And you can say, okay, I'm going to put this amount in my savings. I'm going to do this. But at the end of the day, I had to go back, and Amanda, and the thing that changed me is the exact thing you said. You said I was a TV producer, but I really didn't want them telling me nothing. I really didn't want them telling me what to do. And at the end of the day, I don't want just what you tell me I can have on the 15th and 30th. No, you telling me that's all I can have? Mm-hmm. Nah, I don't just buy it. So thank you so much for the intro segment, because it really helped me sit up straight. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love to hear somebody who's living a very similar path to me, and they're doing it. They're doing it, and they're doing it with a lot of grace. But one of the things that stood out, because I want to get into this, because Amanda, when she was telling me in her intake form that during COVID, she had 56 employees. And she was on the verge of bankruptcy. So this is the part that they're not going to tell you guys on these short reels. They're not going to tell you guys this lots of times on the stages. And she told me this in her intake form. Tell me about the heaviest leadership decision you had to make in that season.
Everybody likes to talk about COVID, and I don't want it to define me, but it is a place marker in a lot of things that I did for my business. During that time, I had a brick and mortar business. I had 56 employees. I had a brand new son. He was just about a year old. And, I resisted closing for as long as humanly possible, to the point where I was getting hate mail. People were like protesting, like, you need to close your doors. You're part of the problem. And I was like, I can't close my doors because 56 people rely on me to pay their bills. And I resisted. And I remember the day I closed it down and just sitting in my car and bawling, because I'm like, what am I going to do? I have a young son. I don't have I'm a solo mom. I've got 56 people who count on me for money, and the rent has to be paid regardless of whether or not the business is shut down. I mean, you have overhead with the brick and mortar, and they did not care. I mean, I had great landlords, and I'm sure that they would have worked with me had I asked, but my pride, I couldn't do it. I couldn't let go of my ego. I couldn't let go of the pride. So I worked through it, and I ate through my entire savings. I ate through everything so that I could give my team a paycheck so that they wouldn't be struggling the way I was. And I just I sat in it, and I like to tell people, like, you can sit in that shit and that will make you start to feel like that's what everything smells like. You'll just get so used to it that you think that's where you're supposed to be. And you've got to get out of it. You've got to get out of it as quickly as you can. And action's what puts you there. And I spent every dollar. I mean, I was literally calling bankruptcy lawyers at the same time. I was selling one business at the same time. I had a family emergency going on, and, a young kid. And so many things happened in that year that could have broken me had I let it. But ultimately, I mean, I didn't want to go back to a normal job. I didn't want to hand my kid off to somebody else, have them watch, and where I will go grind at some job that pays me just enough. And most of that money goes towards the babysitter. And I didn't want to have that life for him. And I had to sit down and really look at the numbers critically and decide, okay, at what point am I filing for bankruptcy? At what point am I going to cut my losses? At what point am I going to cut my team? And just be like, sorry, guys, I held on as long as I could, but now I can't hold it any longer. And in that shift, in that mindset shift, that's when things changed. And I had a business coach at the time. She's actually my business partner now. And we flipped the switch on it. I pivoted my business. I shifted online. I changed the way things did. And I ended up selling that business. If I sold it the year before, I would have sold it for a ridiculous amount of money, because it was, it was $1 million business. But I sold the business, was able to get out of debt. I had to pivot. And although I wasn't originally planning on selling that business, I was actually going to run it from afar. It worked out in my favor, and to sell it at the time, to let go of that ego, to let go of, what was holding me back, and transition into something else. And that business was a baby. I mean, you hold on to businesses for so long. I'd had it for 15 years or so, and you hold on. And I had to really do a mindset check. Like, what was I holding it onto it for? Was it because I really loved that business, or was it because it was comfortable and I was good at it and it was making money? But was I really growing? No. So in that 1 year, I went from filing bankruptcy to, being back on my feet with multiple six figures again in just a matter of months. And it came from risk. You have to take the risk. You have to weigh your options. You have to decide and really align with who you are, because it could have been very easy to stick it out. I could have stayed in the business. Eventually we reopened, and I was working at 25% capacity because of all the ridiculous rules they had during COVID. And we could have made it work. I could have bounced back on my own, but I had outgrown that business. And it wasn't until literally like the world shut down that it made me force that reality that I had outgrown the business regardless, and that I had to make the shift. I took care of my team for as long as I could, and they all stayed on with the new business owner as I sold it, and I negotiated for them. I love my team. I love my job, but ultimately I had outgrown it, and I was so stubborn holding on to it, but it took a world change for me to take a hard look at myself. And I would have done things differently if I could go back. However, I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, and I think sometimes for people probably that are on similar paths for us, because, we're so committed to making it work, sometimes it takes a hard thing like that, because they would say, Amanda, you would have did it a long time ago if you were just going to let it go. If you really, you know what I mean? I even thought about that when I ended my corporate career in 21. I've been out a little while now. And I remember trying everything, Amanda. I tried everything to make it work, right? I was like, okay, be grateful. You've been in a financial services career for so long, and I tried everything. I tried to do it. It seemed like everything was really starting to fall apart around me. Mm-hmm. And it really had to really hit the fan. It had to become a shit show, for me to finally be like, okay, Sinead, you better move now, because if you don't, you might get to a point where it's really too late. And I really think that if it was still like somewhat okay in my mind, I probably would have still been there right now, Amanda, just trying to tinker and trying to get it right. But for people that are like that, sometimes it takes that shaking of the core to finally make us move. And I can sit here and go back and play in my mind, well, maybe I should have did this if I would have took that opportunity versus this one. It may have not gotten this far. No, because in our universe, our creator, he knows us. And he knows that if indeed it does not go this way, they may get stuck there forever. So even in that rut, that hard place, I was so thankful that it happened that way, because if it had not, I'd have still been right there, trying to put all the pieces together, trying to, and it just wouldn't have worked and I would have been miserable. So thank you for sharing that. And another thing that you mentioned in the forum, you said something about ruthless prioritization. I said, oh, it's pretty good. Like, I like to play on words, but tell me what that looks like, especially when emotions are involved. Because yeah, you can be, you know, this highly prioritized system, but then there's the emotions that sometimes don't fit that framework, right?
Yeah. You know, when it comes to ruthless prioritization, it is paramount to what I do and how I run my life. As I mentioned before, I run multiple businesses. I live all over the world. I have a young special needs child who I world school and live, you know, he lives with me full time. I don't have a full-time nanny or anything. So it's, I have to be ruthless in my prioritization. I have to be really, really honest with myself about what I want and what I need, because otherwise you get caught up in all the shoulds, everything you should be doing, all the checklists you should be checking off. And that's not who I want to be. And I mean, you mentioned it earlier, like being an entrepreneur, it's not for everybody. And it's going to look unconventional and like too much work to a lot of people. Even though some of our favorite people in the world are going to look at us and be like, you're working too hard. Like it doesn't, why don't you get a real job? That's my favorite one. I'm like, after 25 years, this is my real job. But it really comes down to prioritizing. If I want to see something happen, I have to make it happen. I mean, we all have the same 24 hours. And I know it feels different if you're like a 20-year-old college student versus a 40-something single mom. The 24 hours might feel different, but it is still 24 hours. And you have to prioritize what you're going to do. You have to prioritize the needle movers, the things that are actually going to make you money, the things that are actually going to bring you joy and happiness, the things that are going to light up your life and make a difference. The things that if you really are going to care about this thing in 5 years, that's something you're focusing on. If you're not going to care in 5 years, it's not really a priority. And ultimately, a lot of times we make these decisions with indecision. It's by not deciding, we're deciding. It's by default, you're deciding something. And so you have to decide, be honest with yourself, be ruthless with your time. And yeah, there's a pecking order. Sometimes I don't see my friends. Often I don't. Most of my friends don't even live in the same state or country as me. So there's a lot of times I don't see friends, and I have to be ruthless about it. I have to just decide what's my priority here. What do I really, really want? And it's going to revolve around my kid. It's going to revolve around my career. It's going to revolve around helping people. And when I'm there, I'm there. When I'm present, I'm present. When I'm working, I'm working. When I'm with my kid, I'm with my kid. And there's not a lot of crossover. My phone is always on silent. I never pick it up. That's not my job. I have other people for that, but I prioritize that. I don't let myself get distracted with those kinds of things because I have not created that for myself. I don't have that. I mean, it's sort of a luxury in some ways, the luxury of being able to get distracted whenever you want, but it's not something I want. It's not who I want to be. And ultimately, that's up to me. There's no one else who's going to come in and save me. There's no one else who's going to come in and pay my bills. There's no one else who's going to come in and live my career and leave the legacy I want to leave. So I have to prioritize that. And it's not always fun. It's not pretty. I mean, but ultimately you're going to prioritize the things that matter to you. I mean, just like somebody who, can't pay their rent, but they bought a new iPhone. I mean, it's not bad or good. It's just a fact that phone was more important to you than paying that bill on time. And there's no wrong about it. You got to let go of the emotion behind it. And that sort of like, I should have done this. I should have done that. Like, just own who you are. If that's your priority, that's your priority, but own it and move on rather than playing the victim, rather than letting yourself get caught up in the emotion behind what should be happening or what society thinks happens or what your parents think should happen. And it's not easy. And it's a constant work in progress because, most people do want to make others proud. They want to make their parents proud. They want to, give their kid the things they see on TV. They want to do the things, but is that really what you want? Is that really on your list? And you got to figure that out.
That's good. And I think one of the things that stood out from the stigma, she said, nobody's coming to save you. Okay. I think we all sometimes will sit in that fairy tale, oh, well, maybe we'll meet this, perfect person, or there's going to be this perfect team, or whoever's coming. Nobody's going to come and save you. I mean, you have to literally walk out your, even when you get support, she had a 56-person team. If people think that you have these numbers and, all these different things, it's going to make the load easier. But, there's different, they say it's different levels to growth, right? And even in those levels of growth, when it looks like, even on the outside, we're growing. This still is an eternal thing that I have to keep going as I grow and acquire knowledge, all these different things. I think when people see the entrepreneurship side, they're like, well, oh, they got all these people working for them and this, that, and the third. Well, yeah, that's keeping an operational aspect of my business going, but there's still visionary things that have to be done. There's still financial things that have to be done. There's so many other layers, and all you seeing is what's happening operationally with people that are running the operations. So just being in that mindset too, really, really kind of helps me, stay grounded, because I get that all the time. Well, you've been doing this and you've been doing that. I was like, I want you to keep saying that and see how many yous that you come up with when you tell me everything that I've been doing.
100%.
You understand? I know you understand. So thanks for sharing really in that. And I'm really, like I said, I really love your story, because it is one of longevity. Because, Amanda, the reality is some people, they try this thing, they try this walk, and they turn around after most of the time 18 months. I think statistics say that the average small business, I believe, is 18 months. I haven't looked to recently. They try it and they turn around and they realize, like, no, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I want to go into the comfort of that. And the reality is that most people, just because, and we just, no color, no creed, we're just talking about human nature, comfort is what soothes them. I just want to be honest with you. Comfort is what soothes them. We're just talking about human nature. I don't care where you come from, what part of the world you are. Human nature, that comfort is what soothes, because the comfort is what I know. And you have a very small percentage of people, we're talking about less than 10, that will thrive outside of their comfort zone and keep fighting.
Absolutely. I mean, entrepreneurship is all about getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's it.
Because you're not going to be comfortable, and their comfort is not where growth happens.
Sure.
I mean, some of the biggest failures I've ever had in my life are where I've had the biggest lessons learned. And that discomfort is what taught me that. I mean, no, it's not pleasant. But that's what entrepreneurship is. I mean, if it were pleasant, everybody would do it. Everybody, if it were just $1 million checks and, trips to the Bahamas, everybody would do it. And yeah, you get those things as an entrepreneur when you work hard and when you achieve that level. But it takes a lot to get there. And there are times where you might be really, really high. Like you might be in the Maldives one week and the next week you're bankrupt and things happen.
What a life.
But you have to come back from it, and then you have to choose. Do you come back from it? Do you bounce? I mean, it's that whole bounce back culture, but are you going to come back from that? Are you going to let yourself sit in that? Or are you going to rise above and take the learning lesson, take the lesson from that and go on to something greater?
Oh, I love it. Now, y'all do see on the screen next to Amanda's name, y'all see that? It says the pursuit of badassery. I say, now, Amanda, what is going on? Tell me something. So I want you to tell me this. What were you seeing in entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship that helped you create this particular platform? Tell us about it, because when I saw the name, I said, okay, it's carrying a little weight. So we have to let Amanda speak about that. And I'm so happy you put it on the screen, because when I seen badassery, I say, nah, Amanda, get into it. So tell us about it, and what did you see in entrepreneurship that led you to create this platform?
My business partner, Lynn Howard, and we started the Pursuit of Badassery. And it started because we had been told many times, oh, I wish I could just have you in my back pocket. I wish that I could, hear from you all the time. I give so much business advice. And we were saying for years that we should write a book. We should write a book. We should write a book. And one day, it was just before Christmas, about 5 or 6 years ago, we decided we needed to stop saying that we were someday going to do something, because someday doesn't exist. It's not a day on the calendar. Someday isn't a thing. And we preach this all the time. We teach our clients that you've got to do the thing now. I put in the action. So we decided we were going to stop making excuses about someday we're going to write a book. And so we wrote the book. And as we were trying to come up with titles, we're like, man, we want to spread that amazing feeling you have, when you know that you're being awesome, just the badassery. And we put it this is the pursuit of badassery. Entrepreneurship is the pursuit of badassery, whatever that means to you. And it became sort of an empire from there. It started our podcast. We have a couple of books. We have another one on the way. And programs internationally, and I think we have 38 countries now that we work with, and it's become this movement where we're trying to help other business owners understand that you need to step into that CEO role. I mean, you talk about having, there's other financial things happening, there's CEO time happening, and so many business owners just create a job for themselves and they don't really ever step fully into the CEO mode. And that's where the sweet spot is. That's where there's room for visionary moments. There's room for you to have exponential growth, but you have to give yourself the time to do that. And so we teach entrepreneurs how to get out of their own way, to get out of that chaos of the day-to-day of owning a job and into the CEO suite where they are actually living the life that they want, that they actually have time for themselves, because you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. And you can make more impact, but not if you don't have the time to do it. So we want to help other people do that. We've, again, I said, we're in 38 countries. And ultimately, when entrepreneurship is done right, it has this big ripple effect. It has a lot of impact internationally because people get into business because they're passionate about something, because they see a problem that they want to solve. And as you said, most businesses close within 18 months to 5 years. That's not long enough for that impact to really hit the level it needs to. So we want to help people get to that level. And it's all about that pursuit of badassery.
Oh, I love it. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of it all the way. I mean, I absolutely love it. And one of the things you guys need to write down, because she said something, and I like the way she said it. She says, someday is not a day on the calendar. Because, I hear it all the time, Amanda. I speak to women and they go, well, yeah, I'm going to write that book one day. Or, yeah, I'm going to do. And I'm thinking and me personally, I think also too, because it's shifting. I mean, I'm, help my grandparents with caregiving. And like I said, they're older. So now I'm in this very kind of sweet spot with time. I don't play with my 24 hours. And I tell people that all day, every day. And I say it often on this podcast. I say, when I wake up in this morning, I don't know what this day is going to do, but if I was to leave this earth, I'm going to die empty. And what that means is that I've given it everything I've got for today. I don't know if tomorrow's coming. Okay. So, and I tell people that all the time, that is my ultimate goal. Whenever the time says, it's Shanadra, it's said, you best believe it's not going to be a whole lot of stuff in here because I've given it. I've gotten up every day and I've looked in that mirror and I've betted on myself and I've literally came through and executed. So someday it's just not a day on the calendar. And I really wish people could do that because, the adage that everyone says that all of the best ideas at the cemetery, because all those people died with that stuff right in them. Mm-hmm. So I love that someday is not a day on the calendar. One of the things that I said, well, I didn't have this question, but I wanted to think about this because I want you to tell me what's the difference between a reactive business owner and a confident CEO. Because I think that reactive business owner kind of floats in that area where you talked about, they created this job for themselves. Mm-hmm. What is that difference in that I'm a business owner, but I'm very reactive, and how do they get to that confident CEO?
Absolutely. A reactive business owner is exactly what people are. I mean, they think a client comes in, a customer comes in, and I make a sale. Somebody walks in front of me and then something happens. That's where a lot of people sit when they're in their business. They're kind of waiting, order comes in, I fill the order. But a CEO isn't sitting in that. They're much more proactive. They're thinking in the long-term pictures. They're 6 months, 12 months ahead of you thinking, okay, what's this? I mean, when I think 6 to 12 months ahead, I'm already thinking about next year's Black Friday specials at my brick and mortar. I'm already analyzing what worked and what didn't work so that next year we have a better sale ratio. Most people are going from sale to sale, promotion to promotion, week to week. They don't know what their social media is next week, let alone next year. And that's where the CEO needs to sit. I'm not necessarily saying the CEO needs to sit on the social media side. However, you have to have that vision for what your business is going to be. You have to have a vision on growth beyond just today's sales numbers. I mean, those are important too, but you can pay someone to look at today's sales numbers. You can't pay someone to have your vision for the future. You can hire the right team, and hopefully that team has the same core values and the same mission and sense of purpose that you do, but no one's going to see the vision the way you as the owner sees it. And you need to sit with that for at least an hour a week, if not 10 hours a week, where you're actually working on the business and on your growth plan, not just on the admin and who showed up to work and who clocked in, and what are my numbers this week, or let me plug in the receipts. Like, you can pay someone to do all those things eventually. Maybe as a solopreneur, you can't pay them right away, but you still have to live in the vision of where you're going to go from there, because ultimately a business needs to be a legacy, whether it's something you're going to leave to a family member or something you're going to sell. You want to create a business with an exit strategy in mind. Where's it going to go from here? If I die tomorrow, what happens to this business? Do I care what happens to the business? Does it just go away? Am I wanting to give it to somebody? Is there a succession plan? Is there a way that my significant other could sell it? Like, what's the next step? And so many business owners, they're so stuck in the day-to-day that they never see the big picture. They just never see it. They might look at their numbers and not really understand what that means. They might look at last year's taxes and this year's taxes and be like, okay, well, I made $400 more. Yay, I'm seeing growth. But they don't really see how that money stacked up. Like, what are their profits? Like, you can't see those numbers just by looking at the spreadsheet. You have to look at your vision. You have to look at the long-term goals. You have to look at how you're spending and how that affects what goes further on. And most business owners just sit in the admin. They get so bogged down and wearing all the hats that they never see that, this isn't a hat business. You're in a totally different business, and they don't see it because they're sitting in that reactive business owner stress, owning a job mode. And CEO just isn't that. It's a different mindset, and it's a different skill set, and it's a different way of looking at your business from a long-term growth perspective.
Yeah, and that's so much important. I will say this because I talk about my corporate career. I remember when I managed global team, that when I left, that's what I was doing. We had people a little bit of everywhere, Manila, and we had a Europe team, we had a South African team, whatever. So it was a big mega pot of a team, and it really was a good catalyst for what I'm doing now, right? Because we talked to really all kinds of people, and I was really fortunate to have that experience. But what was also very important that I took with me outside, which I was very grateful for, is that we had to do succession planning all the time, because we had role shifts all the time. There were people that always were trying to advance their corporate career. So who's going to take your role? Who have you identified on the team that you've kind of partnered with? Do you have any other allies in the company that if indeed you were to, get a good allyship and they moved you somewhere else, what do you think would be the most things that you should pass down from this role? Can this role even, be combined with something else? There were just all these different things you had to think about from a role perspective. And I remember doing succession planning, never thinking that at some point, you would think about that really for yourself. But I always love the way that my journey unfolds, because you'll see these little things, you get so immersed in it, and, kind of goes in the vapor. And then it comes back around and you're like, oh, well, that's why I had to take that pit stop to understand what this really is, because I never knew that this piece of information would be relevant for me X number of years down the line. So that's why I like to look at my picture holistically. I want to ask you this from a personal perspective, because I asked you what did success mean to you? And you told me freedom, impact, and presence. So tell me, how do you personally audit whether your business still supports that basic thing? So I have to always look at that when I'm looking at my pillars of what I want my reach to feel like, what it looks like. I say, well, Sinead, in order for it to do that, you have to make sure that you're personally aligned, and then you're giving direction to people that are helping you that is aligned. So there's these things that I have to do to make sure that I'm personally auditing my energy, my direction, and different things to make sure that impact, because it can get away from us because with life and all these things. So tell me what you're doing to personally audit to make sure that success that you have envisioned is actually on track to get there.
One of the biggest tips I tell all my clients is every day give yourself 3 tasks, needle moving tasks, not just like busy work tasks, but needle moving tasks that you must complete each day. So just 3. If you do more than that, great, but 3 is doable. So before your head hits the pillow, you do those 3 needle moving things to push your business or your life forward. At the end of the week, take at least an hour to review what worked and what didn't. What lights you up? What drains your energy? Where did you feel the most present? Where did you feel the most free? Where did you feel like it was making a difference in what you do? That's a little bit of a CEO hour. That's every week. It's a non-negotiable. There's 3 things a day that are needle moving tasks, and there's at least 1 hour of reflection and review and auditing from a CEO perspective every week. And I say CEO, I don't just mean business. Like what activities worked well with my kid? Where did he shine? Where did it feel like he got the most? Where did I feel like we were connecting the most? Those things, it is a holistic view. You have to look at your whole life because you're not just your business. Even though, listen, I love my business. I'm a workaholic. I would do my business all day, every day if I could. But I also love my kid and I love traveling and I love, hiking. I love a lot of things. And so I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing those things properly. And I have to take a look because life moves really, really fast. I mean, the days are long, the years are short. So if you're not constantly reviewing and checking in on yourself and auditing what's working and what's not, you're going to get a whole year later and realize that nothing got accomplished, that you're still where you were a year ago because you're not auditing, you're not checking in with yourself. And again, seeing if it's aligned, seeing if it brings you joy, if it brings you energy, if it fulfills you in a way that is, in alignment with your life and your purpose. Because it's very easy for those days to go quickly. It's very easy to just go with the flow, go about the motions, do the thing, and then realize 365 days later, you're in the exact same spot because you never really evaluated whether that tactic was working. And so I take it very intentionally every week. It's 3 things a day. And then once a week, I audit those things because life is made up of little moments. You can't get them back. And I want to spend most of my time doing things that I love, whether that's, recreationally or from a business perspective. So like I said, I'm ruthless with it. I don't want to be doing things that waste my time. There's so many things that do waste your time that you have to do, but I don't want my life to get away from me just because I was, busy.
Absolutely. And the other part, I know you say you were going through your head and you were saying and I touched on it earlier, but even with my son, and having that time and even though it's challenging, right? Because my child is with me pretty much all the time. I just want to, so the life I'm living, but I'm always so blessed that he gets to see a living example of someone living this life. Mm-hmm. And I always say that I don't take that lightly. Of course I'm not, he's 8. I'm not telling him all these things that are heavy for an 8-year-old, but he has to see, mommy, this is not working. And mommy is trying this. He has to have a living example of what that looks like right in his home. So I'm very proud to give him that experience because there are some things that I'm telling you, your son, you may not even know that he knows in the crux of his heart, but he knows. Because I know that it's revealed to me and my son at the most random times. So that to me is another piece of that audit. I said, because a part of my legacy is planting something in this boy that keeps him sustained to run his journey. So because that's important to me, that audit of time says, okay, well, look, I'm stopping and we're going to have this time today. I mean, we might be at 11 o'clock enjoying a little ice cream on a Friday. And some people can't say that that's a part of their life. And for me, I do not take that lightly at all. If I have to stop after this and something happens, I have to take my grandfather to therapy, I can stop and do that. And I can stop and do it without pressure.
Well, think about it from the perspective, your son is with you all day long. So he sees you. So what do you want him to see? Because kids, they are super sponges and they will absorb everything, whether you want them to or not. And what do you want him to see? Do you want him to see that you were stressed out in your job and you hated your life and that everything was a burden? Or do you want him to see you dominating and living your life and showing him that, dreams can be unconventional and showing him how you hustle and showing him a different way to do things? Like my son's 7, so I get it. I mean, they see everything and I want him to remember me. If you think about legacies, I don't want him to remember me as somebody who went to work every morning at 7 a.m., saw him at 5 p.m., fed him some food, put him in bed and was done. I wanted to see someone who really, really lived life and who worked their ass off so that he could have a life and so that we could both live the life we want. And, it's an invaluable lesson. It's something he can't learn from anywhere else, but that direct seeing it every single day will make an impact.
Absolutely will. So, man, you keep fighting that fight. That boy knows he knows your heart. He knows your heart. He knows a man. And I said the worst thing for me, I'm serious. The worst thing is that as I left this place and my son did not know me as a woman, did not know. I'm not talking about the CEO of this and that and the podcast host. I get to spend time, and that boy knows me. He knows my favorite thing. That boy knows me as a person. He does. Mommy, I know you're going to be watching this show, or he knows, Mommy, I got these snacks because I know that you like this, or Mommy, I'm not going to say that because you get a little, what does he say? You get a little fussy about that. He knows me. He knows me as a woman. And that, to me, I mean, I'm telling you, like, that will be one of my worst fears, because one of the things, that boy, he will know me beyond the title, because that will always, it can always shift. Times of life can always change. We could be up one day and down one day tomorrow, but you will know me, and we will have real life conversation. Because I have chosen to live my life this way, I am facilitating that conversation, that flow, and that energy, and I will not turn back. So, we heart to heart on that, and I want to thank you for sharing. But I want to make sure, man, that we have a clean segment for you to drop all of your contact details, so that we know where we can reach you in the best way, whether it's social, website, whatever you want to drop here. We'll also include in the description box, of course, below or above, depending on where you're watching. And I'll cue on to Amanda for those connection points.
Well, for sure, The Pursuit of Badassery, it is on every platform. It's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook. Connect with us there. My business partner, Lynn, and I, we love talking to business owners. We live, breathe it. We've have over 50 years combined entrepreneurial experience. And that's where you can find us the most, whether it's listening to a podcast, commenting. We respond to everything. It may take us a couple weeks or a couple days, depending on where we are in the world. But we love connecting with business owners, because ultimately we want to see businesses grow. We want to see people stepping into their power, stepping into that CEO role. So if you own a business and you're looking to up level, check out The Pursuit of Badassery, check out the books, check out the podcast, check us out on socials, and hopefully we'll see you in person one day at one of our events.
Yes. Now, if you see me in the crowd now, Amanda,
you'll be backstage with us. What are you talking about?
Greet me with some love, girl. Just be, and you're right in Austin. So, oh my goodness, I really, actually, in Dallas and Austin, I've interviewed, I don't say quite a few, but a good handful of women. And I do plan to, I was in Dallas a few days ago, but I do plan to pop in and really show some support. And I would love to see you out in Austin. I haven't been really.
Well, I used to live in Houston, so I'm in Houston a lot. My family there, like, I'm in Houston all the time. So, girl, we'll hang out. We'll have a play date.
We are going to lunch, and it's a non-negotiable. It's a non-negotiable. We're going. So you tell me when it's a good time, and if it's there or here, we will definitely make it happen. And y'all seen it on the podcast, so I cannot fall back. I've put my word on it, so I have to stand firm.
Right. You guys are going to hold us accountable. Don't worry.
Hold us accountable. Okay. And when I post a picture on social media, I'm going to say, I told you so. I told you on December 15th. I don't know when you'll see this, but I'll tell you that when I came back and made my word. I have to see you, Amanda. So we got to hold that commitment. Now, let me ask you this, because I'm going to go into my rapid fire round. I have created 10 questions for you that rapid fire, so you don't get a whole lot of, we just want you to stay present in the moment and give us the first thing that comes to your mind with these 10 questions. Now, the first one is one word that describes your leadership style.
Bulldozer.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that one, but I like it. I can go with that. The fastest way entrepreneurs waste time.
Thinking they're busy.
A boundary that protects your freedom.
Shutting off social media and phones.
I need to get better. The most underrated CEO skill.
Forgiving yourself.
That's a good one. The hardest decision you've ever made in business. I know we could probably be here for another 40 minutes. But
the hardest decision? Letting go of my ego and control.
Okay. Tell me one thing every entrepreneur must let go to grow.
Comfort.
CEO energy feels like.
Badassery.
Come on, Amanda. Okay. Tell me a non-negotiable in your business.
Family time. Non-negotiable.
one lesson, and this is another, could be a laundry list, but tell me one lesson that motherhood has taught you about leadership. I know it could be a laundry list, I got a lot, but I'm just saying.
That is a tough one. But, I think if motherhood has taught me anything, it is to see somebody else's perspective and to show grace and value for it, even if it is against who you are. It doesn't, we all have our own. My work ethic is not somebody else's work ethic. My perspective is not somebody else's perspective. So being more open to hearing other people's perspectives.
And last but not least, I want you to fill in the blank. Success should never cost your
soul.
Amanda, that was a fire 10. Good job for you for completing rapid fire, all fire answers. I can tell you guys this. I cannot wait to watch this one back because sometimes I'm in the moment and I'm just so excited to try to connect the dots and synthesize information that I really missed some gems. And I probably did miss some here because there was so much information that Amanda provided today. I want to cue over to Amanda for final thoughts. I want her to give us some great information that gives us the essence of Amanda and really some great parting words for the time she shared with her on the podcast. I will cue to her for final thoughts and I'll be back to close the show.
I think ultimately we have to get out of our own way. It's so easy to get pulled into everyone else's expectations, to get into this idea of what we should do. But ultimately, you are in control of your own path, your own journey. No one else. There's no one way to do something. There's no perfect way. There's no right way. And we get stuck. I know that this happens a lot with women, but with men too. We get stuck in this anxiety and this expectation and this perfectionism. And those things just don't matter. There's no perfect time. There's no perfect situation. We have to risk a lot. And as an entrepreneur, you're going to risk some crazy things. You're going to get a crazy reward as well. So you've got to get out of your own way, trust yourself, trust your abilities, and trust your decisions, because there is no wrong decision. There's only what choices and what actions you make after that decision. If you sit there and think about, I should have done this, I should have done that, it's already too late. Move on from that decision and make the best choices you can with what you have from that, because you can't get it back. You can't get back the time. You only have the present and the future. So live it. Actually go through all the motions, go through the emotions, risk the big risks, because that's where the big gains happen.
I love it. And you cannot get back the time. She said, all you have is now and the future. And remember, we talked about it in the beginning. We don't know how much the future, we don't know how much the future holds. So stay present in the moment, just get it done. And let me just tell Amanda, I already knew it was going to be amazing. I tell people all the time when we have like little bitches in time, it is the best conversations that we have on this platform. That's just how it works in the Her Voice Shines podcast land. I'm always, confident about that. But let me tell you something, Amanda. I told you before we even started, I'm very proud of you. I am very proud of your entrepreneur story. I am very proud of you for showing up for your son. And I am very proud of you for not only showing up for you, but the impact that you're creating to help so many other entrepreneurs get a glimpse of a life that maybe they don't know how to bring it to fruition. But you're standing here and saying, look, I am helping you. It may not look exactly like my journey, but I am giving you the parts of the best of I got for you to be able to get where you need to be. And that's nothing small. So everyone that's out there in the Her Voice Shines podcast, and give Amanda a round of applause. I want to thank her for being here. And I tell you that miraculous things happen when you let your voice shine and come out of the shadows. It's not rosy over here. This is discomfort, maybe a little comfort, then discomfort again. It is those cycles that have produced the women that you see in front of us today. And that's just the honest to God truth. So I'm going to tell you like the church folks say, I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And we hope you come back next time for another amazing woman here on the Her Voice Shines podcast. Until then, we're out and we love you.